Yes. Okay, everyone. So today is Teacher Tuesday, and I am going to show you some of my 5 favorite teacher websites that I use on a day-to-day basis. So let me pull up my Google. Okay, so the first one that pops up is Reading A to Z. And this website is great if you are dealing with kids that are, typically from like the kindergarten to up to 5th grade level. Um, their reading level, anyways. It doesn't really mean that that's their grade, but these are their reading levels. So because I am a member, I can log in. Clark School is a school I work with. And so if I log in, I can go in and I can do what they call as a running record. And a running record is an assessment for a child to see their fluency and their accuracy and pretty much give them an outline of what grade level that they're reading at. And then it helps as a teacher to be able to see what level they're on, help them pick a reading book, an independent reading book, or put them in reading groups. And then you can, work with them on how to move up a level and where are their flaws in reading and how you can establish a good program for them to move forward with. So if I go on here, I typically like to just type in running records. And so a running record, they will have a bunch of different books that you can choose from. And so it bases on their level right here on the left-hand side. So they can be down to like the AAC, and that's like the younger levels. And then when you move up to the Z1 and Z2, that's like a high 5th grade reading level. And then, once they test out of this program, they move on to being 6th grade and above, and you can pick the appropriate books for them. But the great thing about running records is when you go on, it will pick a leveled book for the kid, and then these are like the score chart of what you can go by. And you'd really have to read in a lot to do it and have like a little training for yourself. But I just want to tell you about the website itself, that it does provide running records, and then you can go and select a book for your kiddo. So say I went to Q2T, I click on the benchmark assessment, and so I would essentially print this out for the kiddo to read for me. There's a different sheet that they actually read from without all this markings on the side. This is the teacher version of it. So running with Jennifer, the student actually will take this and read, and then it tells you how many word count there is. And then as a teacher, you say if there's an error, a self-correction, and it gives you like a little key above here. But it's really great to help assess your students and know where their reading level is at, and then there's tools to help you build up on their comprehension and their fluency. So it's a really great website. The subscription to this, I'm actually not 100% sure how much it costs to subscribe to Reading A to Z. Like I said, I just get it from my school, so they do the subscription. But I believe, if I remember correctly, it's about a couple hundred every year you renew. So definitely something that you can look into, or your school, and recommend it. I know lots of schools will give you reimbursement for things, so it's something you can definitely look into. The second one we look into... Okay, sweetheart. The second one we look at and use is called Vocabulary Spelling City, and we just call it Spelling City. This is a great website to have your students practice their spelling words. So when you go on here, I have a list management, and you'll see that my entire school uses this, so you'll see a lot of different lists. But we can go on, and these are our groups that we use. And then you can make individual lists for different students. I sometimes have made science spelling lists, so it helps them with their science words, or you can do language arts words. It's really whatever you want, or the kiddo could have their own separate list of words that they need to work on as an individual, and so you can put them on here. And so say I wanted to try a game. The kids get to learn by playing games, which is really great. So they can go on and pick any one of these games, and as a teacher, you can print out worksheets, sentence unscramble or alphabetize or match definitions. And so there's all different things that they can do to help practice their words. And it's really great because it can be an independent activity, which is really helpful. So as a teacher, when my students are doing a lesson, and then I'll teach them a lesson, and then they do the practice work, Then they'll do individual work by themselves. And at the end, instead of saying, what do I do now? I'm done. They have the choice, sometimes a choice, to say, okay, you can either read independently or going on Spelling City, or sometimes if I'm doing a spelling lesson, I'll want them to go on Spelling City and I want them to practice their words. So it's really great. My students all have their own iPads, so they just can take out their iPad, go on Spelling City, and get some practice done. So it's a really great resource for students to practice their words, for sure. My next website that I really love, and I just most recently found it, is called education.com. And so this website is really fantastic. It gives lots of lesson plans and worksheets and games. So I subscribed. It was on sale at the time I subscribed, but it was about $60. It was $59 something. And so $60 for the year. I can put all my students' names on here, and then I can assign them different assignments. I could do one as a whole class. I could make it individual, depending if my students are working on, let's say, commas. Well, I can say, Joey's going to work on commas, and Susie's going to work on her, unlike denominators, and they have math, science. They have all kinds of winter activities. So here's some winter puzzles and things like that. But they have all different kinds of activities. So they have guided lessons where I can actually go on, and as a teacher, I can do a lesson together with them, and I can say, okay, guys, everyone go on your iPad, and I can teach them a lesson literally, as they're on their iPads at the same time, and I can show them about it. And the great thing about my classroom, which I know is different for everybody, but we have TVs in our classrooms that we can AirPlay, because I have a MacBook. I can AirPlay it to the screen, and they can follow along. And it's a really great resource. We use a lot of technology in my school, and so if your school is one like that, these are some great resources. And even if not, if you have computers, like a computer lab, you can take your kids to the computer lab and still use education.com or Spelling City or any of these websites, which is really great, as long as you have access to some technology. And then even homeschooling parents, these are great websites that you can use with your own kids. I know education.com even does some pre-K or preschool. So my own daughter has actually done some games with me, and I'll sit with her and do some different things with her, and they have songs and activities and workbooks. So they really offer a lot of different stuff. Yeah, so they go down to preschool. So, numbers 0 through 10. So, my daughter is 3 years old. So, she is learning her numbers 1 through 10 or 0 through 10. But then my kiddos, I have them working on the fifth grade lessons. So, we can do idioms we just did, and similes, and word meaning, and spelling, and suffixes, and prefixes, and verbs. And, it's just something that they always need to keep repeating every year, even when they're in the higher grades. If we don't have this repetition of learning, your parts of speech and things like that, they tend to slip from their minds. So it's always good to keep reinforcing that. And so I can go on and say figurative language. I can either assign this lesson or I can start the lesson all together. So I can have them. So typically I go on and I print out the lesson plan for this, and I do all the work, and then I will assign the lesson to them, and we'll talk about it. We do it really verbal in class. And then for their follow-up work for individual, I'll assign, the activity worksheet that goes with this. So they can either have it for homework or, after they're done their work, this is something independent that they can do on their iPads. And it just kind of reinforces everything I've taught them and see if they really understand it on their own. And the great part of this website is that there's a progress tracker. So I can literally see all my students, when they did stuff, what their grade was, how their results were, which is really great. And then I can see who needs to work on what. I found this website initially because of typing. So we're having my students practice their typing. And so I can assign different typing games to them, and they can go on and practice their typing. And then I learned that they had so many more things. And even if you don't subscribe to the website, you're allowed to print out a few different worksheets per month. So I think it's 5 worksheets per month, and you get those for free no matter what. So that's really great. But I found myself wanting to really use it a lot more than that. So that's why I did get a subscription, because I use it all the time. And I really find that it's a big help. Just because they already have lessons done and ready for you. So if I browse lesson plans, everything's already done for you. And they recommend what you can do and use, and then they give you some fun things on the side. And I just really love this website so much. To be able to grade my students on something they did digitally without me having to look at every single individual thing can be really great. I don't always rely on this, but it is a great resource for their practice. So the next website I'm going to show you is free, which is even better. Oh, look at that. They even said that on the website. So this is called readworks.org, and this is also a reading type website, which is wonderful. So this helps them practice their reading comprehension, and I'm sure by now you have seen a pattern in the websites that I'm using. There's a lot of reading and language and comprehension and fluency, and those are just really so important in education because they really overlap to all subjects that students are going to be learning. So, it's not just about language arts class. Well, if they can't read, how are they going to do science class and social studies and history and Spanish and, all the different language that we use is in every single subject. And that's why it's so important to me for my students to know, their vocabulary and their reading and, overall reading and language is the real staple of it all, because if you don't know how to do those things, it's really hard to learn any other subject. So here's readworks.org. My login's already there because, like I said, I use it all the time. So if I log in, and it's free, I literally just signed up and it gave me access. And so I can go on, I can pick the grade that I want, which goes all the way up to high school, which is even better because this is really broad. And the great thing about this, especially for my students or any students who have any kind of disability or even just hear better, these articles, you can have someone read it to you, so you don't have to read it, you can hear it. So it's like an audiobook, which is like really popular these days. Some people just learn better by hearing somebody else read it to them instead of them having to read it, and we're in a society now that is perfectly acceptable, and there's so many resources to do that. So I can literally click on a website, an article. They can listen to it if they want. They can read it if they want. It tells you the grade level. It tells you how many words there are. I can assign it to them. And then at the end, there's vocabulary. There's a question set, so they can read and then answer the questions. And this also sends it right to me graded. Unless it's an open-ended question, then I can grade it myself. But again, to have these questions already graded and say, okay, everyone got number 1 wrong. Okay, well, let's look at that question and understand what the comprehension is for these students to understand that. So it's really, really great. I can have a bunch of different classes. So I have 2 classes right there. But I can have different classes and have all my students in it. So it's just a really, really great resource. So the final website that I want to talk about is BrainPOP. So BrainPOP is a great website. However, this one does cost money. And there are so many different aspects of this website. So the typical subscription from what I found is around $230. But there's so many different things that you could add on here. So it really it depends on how you are teaching. Whether you're just doing it for your own kids, or if you're homeschooling, or if you're a teacher, or if you're a school. It really depends on what you want for the subscription. But this BrainPOP is really great. And I know in Massachusetts, they actually recommend, even as a teacher, to go on and study these things. And it really helps you with your MTELs, which is your Massachusetts state licensing tests. So you have to take some tests before you become a licensed teacher. And so BrainPOP is actually a site that I've been recommended to anyways, to really learn their studies here and then go practice and take the test, because it just really breaks it down in a simple way for kids. It's all animated, so it's really great. And so say I was teaching English, I'll just stick with my theme today, and say I wanted to teach grammar, then I click on grammar and I say, okay, which grammar lesson do I want to talk about today? And they have a lot. So say my kids were working on colons. I could say, okay, guys, today we're going to watch a movie about colons. You can give them an individual quiz after. You can give a quiz as a class. You can have them make a map, make a movie. There's activities that go with it. There's lesson ideas. You can create your own quiz. There's just so much to offer on this website. It's really, really wonderful. I love it so much. And it's great. It's really nice for a teacher to not always have to talk all the time, but also use technology and let the kids listen to someone else's voice for a while. Let's see if it will. Okay, so it's going to make me log in, which is fine. I have a login for it, but so colons, and then it will. I'll just play a quick little.
I can't believe we're lost. No, I was supposed to bring the marshmallows. You were supposed to bring the map. Let's do a letter. Dear Tim and Moby, can you explain when to use colons? From Mr. Henry's class. A colon is a punctuation mark that looks...
Okay, so I won't go too much into it because I don't want this video to be super, super long, but so that's typically what they do. They start with a little skit, and then they read a letter, and then they go into the lesson and say, okay, this is what a colon is, this is how you use it, and things like that. So it's just a really, really great resource. So I really encourage you to try any one of these websites, or all of them if you can. I mean, if you're on a budget or you just don't have the money to even invest in any of these, ReadWorks is still a great one that starts young and it's free. So that's a really great one. Education.com will give you some free worksheets every month, so you can even start using that. I'm pretty sure the Learning A to Z and Spelling City don't give any free items ahead of time. I think you have to subscribe, and same with BrainPOP. It might let you do a couple things, but you're really not going to get the basis of those websites without actually like subscribing and getting in there. They really offer some great stuff. But I just wanted to share my websites with other people because I know as a teacher it's really helpful to share with each other, and we learn from each other so much, so we really need to be there for each other. So if you have found anything new, exciting, please comment down below and subscribe to my channel for any future Teacher Tuesdays. I like to do something every week that I use as a teacher to help other teachers out there. And if you have any other websites that you want to recommend to me, please comment below. I would love to see what you guys have to offer. Alright, everybody, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
Looney Tune. Hannah, what are you doing? Careful. Angela, you think your sister's crazy?
Yeah. Wait, I die.